happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com, and this is Disconnect to Connect one word conversations. It's kind of funny. I noticed on one of my overlays for the show yesterday that in the hashtag that I hardly ever mention, I had one word conversation instead of conversations. So I had the S on my mind, and as soon as I started, now I went to words instead of words. So that's how my mind works. So welcome to One Word Conversations, and I am so glad that you're here today. This has really been an amazing journey to just see how words are showing up in our lives and how one word can not only have a conversation, but it creates um, a story. It creates. There's a lot of emotions, and as I've said many times, the things about a word that it has cousins and buddies and relatives. It doesn't just come alone. We think that words just have a definition, and it's so much more than that. And so when we try to communicate with each other, um, we miss sometimes the opportunity to recognize how a word is showing up for that person or even for yourself. So today's word is listen. And so I learned a number of years ago that uh, listen is one of the many forms of communication, and too often for me, it was my last my last way of communicating. Because I was always getting my words together and things that I was going to say. So join me as I invite my friend in so we can have a conversation around the word listen. Good morning.
Good morning, William Brown. It's great to be here with you.
Oh, it is so great. It's like when you said that, I was like, wow, am I in trouble? It's like only time I hear my whole name, I'm just reminded that uh-oh, what did I do? But this is the moment in the show where I ask my guests to introduce themselves however uh, feels comfortable to them.
Thank you. Thank you, William. I really appreciate I just want to say first off, I really appreciate the opportunity to come and have a conversation with you. I'm excited to talk about the word listen. And my name is Jean Bailey Robor. And I like to say that I'm that no buts about it expert because I think of the big buts we put in our way. And
Hmm.
sometimes it comes because we don't listen. And I
Hmm.
am such an expert on that because I put them in my way all the time, but I found ways to get them out of my way as well. And so, what I like to do is help other people identify the excuses they use in their life not to be successful, get those things out of the way so they can live their best life. That's pretty much who I am. I do a little writing, speaking, things like that. I try to do some humor once in a while, and that's pretty much who I am. But today, I just want to have a conversation and enjoy the time that we have together.
Wonderful. I definitely appreciate it, and I too put many butts in my way. um, so, how does listen show up for you?
Well, when you first gave me that word, I actually looked it up and I found out that it means to pay attention. To
Hmm.
pay attention. And I know when I pay attention, if I'm really paying attention, I have to focus. Now, sometimes we get our phones and things like that, and that takes our attention. And, we're talking to somebody over here, but we're looking here, and that's really where most of our focus is. But either way, we're not focusing well on either thing, right?
Right.
So when I think about listen and paying attention, it really made me think about what am I doing wrong here? Why am I feeling like I can pay attention to this person talking to me while I'm looking at my phone? Doesn't always work that way. We need to
Right.
give people our focused attention, not just people, but other things that we need to listen to as well. And so I really appreciate this word that you've given to me, because it's taught me already, some little things I need to tweak in my own life to make it better.
Yeah, I totally get that. I feel for me, listen is, it comes down to understanding or appreciating. For me, it's like that
Hmm.
expansive. There's a lot of
Right.
things that I hear that I don't listen to. I hear a sound, I hear something, but I'm not listening for that. When the listening for me is like you were saying, is that attention that you're giving it, so you can kind of get more information on it. And I really think that, as communicators, we first met in Toastmasters.
Hmm.
We're speaking and leaders, right? Becoming a more effective speaker and leader. And I think I have learned that, through the number of years being in Toastmasters, that um, my speaking sometimes takes a secondary it's is secondary to my listening. So if I want to communicate effectively, and because I don't know if you've seen before, I have a working definition of true communication, and it is a brave sender, and a prepared and willing receiver.
Mm.
And I think too often that the reason why we don't listen, um, as effectively, or I'll say myself, is one, because I'm not prepared.
Right.
And some cases I'm not willing. It's like,
Right.
what, I've heard that before. I don't want to do that. And I think, that gives the it's like a disservice to really communicating on a level that's important to me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I can so relate with what you just said. And I think it's not just you and me, it's everybody that I think has a problem with listening, listening effectively in order to communicate well.
I think it's sometimes, we what sometimes feels as a very noisy world. Okay. A part of my, I guess, sanity control, if I can, I've never used that before,
I like
is
that.
to monitor what I listen to. And sometimes, I don't get it right. Sometimes there are some things that I miss because of that. But I think in this noisy noisy world that we're in, um, it feels like people are just trying to be listened to, or to get, like you said before, the attention, get people's attention, so we can make a difference, so we can see the changes, so we can, really connect to each other on a level that will make a difference. And, um, why do you think that we have reached this point where it's like it's so loud, but it still feels like no one's listening to each other? We're not
It
listening to
really
each other.
does. I mean, the world has become a noisy place. And I mean, just get on social media, you see it, And I
Right.
think you really brought out a good point when you said people want to be listened to. I think we all want to be listened to. That's something that we crave. That's how we make those connections. But I think sometimes we stop there. We want to be listened to, but do we want to listen? Because
Right.
it goes both ways, right? And that goes back to, not being distracted when somebody's trying to communicate with you.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think that we just have to take that into consideration, when we're dealing with people. We don't always know where they're coming from and why they're so passionate about wanting to be listened to. Maybe they've had a life where they felt like nobody ever listened to them. Um, you know, I think it's really important that we try to come to people right where they're at and
Right.
communicate in a way that they're receptive to it, but also that they'll know that, hey, we're taking time to listen to you. We care about what you have to say or how you feel, that kind of thing.
Right.
And I truly believe a lot of the problems that we're seeing today stems back to something just as simple as having a conversation, or
Right.
listening to somebody, and letting them know that, you're not just speaking to a brick wall. I mean, you're
Right.
speaking to somebody that truly cares, and that'll do something to make your life better, because I've listened to you, I've heard what you said, and now I'm going to
Right.
make something change.
Right. There is a, earlier this week, I had a conversation. I think it was the conversation that I had with Denise about being seen, right?
Hmm.
Online, and and I said, hey, maybe I should have the emoji eyeballs so people can say, I see you, so you can stop acting crazy. I think now I probably need to have the ear, so it's like, okay, I heard you. Just
Yeah.
I'm listening. That's fine. You don't have to do anything crazy. I think a part of my personal journey, my self awareness journey that I've been on, I share it on Facebook too. Is I've added a meditation practice, and it's amazing in the I guess the last couple years that I don't want to say that I've been serious, but I've been more consistent. Let's just say that my listening really occurs in the morning in silence, and I think it is very. I don't want to say it's loud in my head, but there is this. The more quiet I get, the more that I can hear, the more that I can listen. Is there is there something how listening shows up as silence, for you that you want to share or kind of have experience in?
Yeah, it was interesting. I read the other day, and I'd heard this before, you may have too, that if you switch around the letters and listen, it becomes silent.
Hmm.
And I think
I
that's
did
very
not see.
interesting.
Right.
That may just happen in the English language, but I
Right.
think it's very interesting, because in order to listen well, we do have to silence ourselves.
Hmm.
And that doesn't just mean closing up this thing right here, it also means turning this off a little bit sometimes, because our minds
Right.
race through so many things. What
Right.
do we have to do today? What do we have to do tomorrow? And when we're truly listening to someone, I believe that the quieter that we can be, the more silent we can be, the better listener we'll become.
Yeah. It's like I said, it has been very eye opening, or very there's a level of clarity of just being able to sit in silence, or quiet, or being um, with my breath, or something, or just kind of listening for my heartbeat, or something. The more that I make the intentional actions of, this is what I'm going to listen to, this is what I'm going to learn about myself, and I think that's the other of listening is a feeling. I mean, it's almost a mind, body, soul, spirit type of thing. There's like this whole body of listening, and if the more that we listen on that level, um, then we're connected.
Right.
There's a connection with our loved ones and with ourselves, and really know that. And I think in some cases we I don't say we're not conditioned to listen. We're just stand up for yourself, speak your mind, do all that. It's I don't know. It just feels like we're in a society that's more important about what's being said than what's being heard, or what you hear with that. And it's that response, or that um, I guess the response of what being said really produces the action. Or am I adding too much to that?
No, I think you're right on the money. And I totally agree with what you're saying. And, when you mentioned mind, body, and soul, I am such a proponent for getting all that together. I don't think we can really live successful lives unless we get very balanced with that.
Hmm.
And when we think about listening, just think about your mind. I mean, your mind can feed you negative thoughts or positive thoughts. What are you
Hmm.
going to focus on? What are you going to listen to? I think that matters. There's a podcast that I listen to every morning. I just discovered it a few months ago. It's called 7 Good Minutes. So
Hmm.
when, 7 to 8 minutes, you get something positive to start your day. And for me, that helps a lot because it starts my mind thinking along those lines instead of some of that negative self talk, that I
Right.
might give myself if I don't start off on the right foot. And I
Right.
truly believe that what we put in our minds and what we listen to in our minds makes a
Right.
big difference, even in how we feel physically, but definitely mentally. And
Right.
it helps us as we go through our day. It might make a bad day better. it's
Right.
it's just something that I think is so important is to make sure we listen to the right things that we're telling ourselves.
Yeah, and I think, and I totally agree with that also. But it's sometimes, going back to the busyness and the noisiness of, our world, that, I miss things, and in some cases, I will say that, hey, well, if I didn't know about this or anything, it's because I didn't need to know. It's because
Yeah.
it just didn't happen. I make that justification, but it feels like how do we create, I guess, a good filtering system, or something, to really, I mean, we have noise cancellation, headphones and all that other kind of stuff. What is How can we stay open but also create an environment that we are very selective about what comes in our ears and what we listen to?
Right. And I agree with you. I think it's important that we're selective.
Right.
Talking about the noisiness and the busyness, I mean, it's all around us.
Right.
Years ago, before the internet came on board, we didn't have to worry so much about being bombarded. And it truly is
Right.
a bombardment of
Right.
information, good, bad, or ugly. It's out there.
Right.
And I think it overwhelms us sometimes because we do need those times when we pull back and meditate, like you said, just take some time, just breathe, clear our minds, and just listen.
Right.
I truly believe that we've got to be proactive. We
Right.
can't just allow so many things to be bombarded. I was talking to a lady yesterday on the phone, and she said she had been glued to her television set because of everything that's going on. And, you
Right.
know, it's not healthy to really be glued to it.
Right.
I think we need to be informed for sure, but there comes a time when you need to pull back and maybe take a fast from news, from social media, from
Right.
anything that's keeping you uptight.
Right.
Uh, you've got to look out for your own mental health. But
Right.
I do, like I said, I think we need to be informed. We've got to find that fine balance, though, William, because I agree. I agree. There's just so much noisiness and, bombardment of everything out there. We've got to
Right.
find a way to make it happen. Do you have any ideas on that? I mean, I love the meditation idea. I think everybody needs to do that. 5 minutes a day can make a big difference in your life when it comes to
Right. And,
meditation.
in some cases, for me, just taking a moment, just taking a deep breath instead of just, as you can see, sometimes when I speak, I'm a man of commas, right? It's like comma, 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 just kind of keep it going, and words to just keep on coming out. And the more that I have learned to take a pause, take a moment, take a breath, it causes me to collect, my thoughts, collect myself, and just be open to what is next, even if it's coming from me or not coming from me. And I think, because I've moved from, getting my point across, there was a part in my life where I felt that, believe it or not, I was considered a shy kid, a
Mhm.
quiet and shy kid. I blame it on Toastmasters, right? Find your voice, right? It's like, now
Hey,
it's
that
like,
happened to me too.
it's like, shut up, right? Right? It's like, so now, and it's like, and I will be a DTM soon, and so it's like, don't time me, right? Right? So I mean, so that's what that means. So, um, but um, but no, really feeling that the tendency of just kind of blurting things out or or stating my case and all that, I have kind of let that go so I can listen and kind of see what is coming at me, my understanding, if I have a question, if there's a clarity or and thing kind of move from there. And I think the challenge that we have around listening, and that I have for myself is like you were saying, that balance, and it's just really listening to my heart, trusting myself, believing that everything is will be fine, and um, but still staying aware, staying aware of my family's needs, staying aware of my community's needs, or what's going on in the country and everything like that, and recognizing that the more that I curate,
Mhm.
what I'm listening to, or what I make that my understanding of that is is key to my development and key to moving from there. And I think that's why I think it's important to know yourself. The more that what lights you up, what drains you, what causes you to go into depression or something. The more that you can know of what things that you can listen to and find yourself in those places. And um, I I felt that there was a number of situations that I was in the past, that I was listening to stuff just because, of their title, of their label. It's like,
Right.
okay, the pastor said this, so I need to listen, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it makes no sense, but I need to listen. Or, a political leader, or something like that. And it is just now, I don't, I don't feel like compelled to listen just because there is really of, why do I need to listen to this? Why is this important? What is, how can this help um, myself, or other people that I care about? Good morning, Beverly. um, but it's that type of thing, and just be okay with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you're right because, like you were talking about labels, I mean, pastors and presidents and senators, they're all people just like we are.
Absolutely.
They have their flaws. There are people that we listen to because we either like what they say or they can teach us something. And sometimes it's not a pastor, sometimes it's your neighbor next door. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So when
Right.
you take those labels off and look at them as, hey, we're all in this together. We're people. We're having a
Right.
conversation. We're listening to each other. It's
Right.
amazing some of the things that can come out of those conversations. And I'm not saying discount your pastor because I
Right.
can
Oh,
watch
absolutely.
my pastor's sermons, but just not to label people so much and realize
Right.
that they have a lot of people have a lot of wisdom to impart. It's amazing.
Right. I'm yeah, I posted something, because I came to this awareness around, I guess, wisdom. It's like sometimes when I'm 52 now, right? So
Oh
it's
no, you're
like,
still younger than
so
me.
all right, so it feels like, okay, I'm like 52. I guess I need to have some type of wisdom or something, so I at least get an understanding of wisdom, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, and what I kind of landed on was, it's like, wisdom is available, anywhere if you're open to it. And so the more that, I mean, I can get wisdom from a child, I can get wisdom from, a plant, a frog, or something, or it's like, it is just, what am I open to the lessons that are being shared through the creation, um, and the beauty, of it will really um, cause me to, cause to live a life fully. I mean,
Right, right. And gosh, that just opened up my mind to something. Thinking about the little things, the creation, everything that we see during the day, and how often do we go about our day and just don't pay attention to it? We just
right.
don't open our eyes or listen, and things that may have made our lives a lot better, maybe we're passing them by because we didn't take that time to look or to listen. Wow,
Most
that's
most
brilliant.
Yeah, well, look, most of the challenges that I've had in my life, and say challenges or traumas in my life, are things that I chose to not listen to. Not I chose to ignore. I chose to disregard. And it's like, as you said earlier, listening is just paying attention, right? you know, you
Simple,
know.
right?
Right. It doesn't mean you have to always consistently all that it's like, look, pay attention, see what this is, recognize what you need to do, and then you make a decision and move on. But because we don't even pay attention, we don't listen, we miss the opportunity to find wisdom, to find clarity, to find understanding, and then we'll miss it. And I think especially during this pandemic, um,
Mhm.
and a lot of other things that are happening in the news, is that we're not listening to each other at a point where it's life or death. I mean it's always been, you know, for me, feeling that life or death was in the balance. But when you're dealing with a pandemic and you want to hear, actionable information so you can be safe and keep the people that you love safe, if we're not listening and if we're not paying attention because we don't like politics, or we don't like the news outlet, or if we don't like whatever, or we're just afraid or something, we 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 basically miss an opportunity to really, um, I guess, be there for each other.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and it's like I said, it's sad, and in some cases, it's kind of predictable, right?
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And, thinking about the pandemic and how things have changed so much, people have come home to work. Some people don't work right now. And I found that I have gained a greater connection with my neighbors. I mean, I was away from home so much, we didn't have a chance to really connect. And
Wow.
it's been interesting how we supported each other through this. I mean, anytime there's something bad going on, you can find a way to make something good come out of it. And I think a
Right.
lot of people have done that. I know people that are really fearful and they're kind of hiding in their houses and just being afraid. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with staying home, but
Right.
to just stay and just to be in a state of fear all the time, that doesn't do you well,
Right.
mind, body, or soul. And I know other people who have used it as a time to connect with their families, to
Hmm.
cook healthier foods and take care of themselves and just make the best of it, basically. So it
Right.
really depends on what are we doing, what are we listening to. We talked about our mind, but what about our bodies as well?
Right.
If something's hurting, it's trying to tell us something. If we're
Right.
feeling, if we eat a big bowl of banana pudding before bed at night and wake up the next morning and we're nauseous, well, it might be because we had a little too much sugar. I mean, listen to
Right.
your body, and
Right.
make those tweaks to make yourself as healthy as you can be, because when our bodies are healthy, it's easier to get our minds healthy as well. We're not so focused on all those aches and pains and things that are going on. So I'm also sort of on a mission to try to get myself in the best shape that I can be in. It's a work in progress, but
Uh,
it's been interesting.
right. No, I'm totally there with you. And I said, I'm 52 years old, and I don't know if my body is making more noise or I'm making more noise when I move around, but it seems like anytime that I move around, there's noises. Right? You know?
Right, right. And like I said,
Right.
I'm a little bit older than you are, so I've
Right.
been making those noises for a while. And I will
Right.
tell you, but let me tell you this. I mean, going up and down stairs, my knees wanted to talk to me, And I have found that, if you can do some yoga or stretching over time, I don't
Right.
hear the noises quite as loudly or as often. I don't know why.
Okay.
I'm not an expert in that, but I will say that I truly have come to believe in making sure you try to get your body as in shape as you can. I really miss the gym. I was just getting
Right.
into that the last couple of years, but I
Right.
found out that we don't need a gym to be able to take care of ourselves. We can go and
Right.
stretch, we can do yoga. There's tons of videos on YouTube. If you don't know how to do something, just pull something
Right.
up and follow, right?
Right.
No
Yeah. It's
expense more.
and I think going back to I think I've really got some clarity, and it's kind of helping me really um, kind of look at listen totally different, and it's really kind of it's really kind of interesting how quickly it's changed. It's just um, it's what has my attention for the last couple weeks. I have been going back and forth of looking at my intentions and seeing if they're aligned with what has my attention.
Wow.
And it's like when they're out of alignment, that my intentions won't show up because what has my attention, rules.
Right.
And so when trying to figure out what is my, what has my attention, it really goes to what am I listening to, right?
Yeah.
What am I watching the news all the time? Am I listening to negative thoughts? What am I listening to that that I am giving attention to that is keeping me from my intentions? Because I say a lot of things, that
Yeah.
are wonderful and great, and I can put it in a Facebook post, and people are like, yeah, I get hearts and all that other kind of stuff, but it doesn't have my attention, you know. So yeah, so to really help me get in line or find alignment in my intentions, it comes in my listening. And like I said, I just got that for myself, and it's like, okay, all right, check, you know, check
Right.
one. What
Yeah.
am I listening to?
I
Right.
know. It makes a difference. It really
Right.
does.
And so yeah, this is great. Yeah, that's Beverly. That is exactly right. It squeaks and all that other kind of stuff. It is it is great. Um, let's for in the later part, the end part of our thing. We talked about Toastmasters before. Um, within being a public speaker, professional speaker, and everything, and even being a writer, how does listening really play a part in that?
Let me just share with you what came to mind when you asked me that question, because you mentioned about being a writer.
Right.
Now, I love to write,
Hmm.
and one of the things I had never done is written a children's story. But with the pandemic and the isolation, being isolated from my four grandkids, I wanted to connect with them in some way. We would get online and we would, talk. But with a 4-year-old, after you say, "Hey, how was your day? What did you do? What's left?" Right?
Right.
So I decided to write a children's story and to read it to them as Mimi's bedtime story. And I
Oh
did
wow.
this 3 times. And I realized when we were talking about listening that it was because I went to where they were. I tried to figure out, what does this little kid want? bring joy to their life. So I wrote this silly stories about tigers. The first one was the angry tiger, and it was very animated, and they loved it. So of course that inspired me to write a couple more. But that would not have come out of anything if we'd not been isolated, and if I'd
Hmm.
not realized that, hey, I want to connect with these folks. These are my
Right.
grandkids, right? I love them.
Right.
And if I hadn't realized that I need to listen to what they need,
Hmm.
then I wouldn't have been creative in this other writing genre.
Right.
And it's been a lot of fun. So when we think about listening and the focus that we put on things, it can take us in so many different directions. We can get
Right.
our minds right, we can get our bodies healthier, we can connect with people that we love better just because we chose to listen.
Right. Wow. No, that's beautiful. I've written a couple children's books, and if you'd have asked me, 5 years ago, if that would have been something that I thought I had in me, it's like absolutely not. It's not that I didn't like kids. I don't have any grandkids yet, and I am not speaking that into any of my kids yet.
Let me just say that it's
But
great.
right, it's the but it was something that, having a conversation around labels, how you can you communicate that conversation to kids, and just taking on that challenge, listening to my publisher and taking that challenge on, it's really helped me to break down what the conversation around labels is all about. And conversations around label is really about, identity and self-love and self-acceptance and all those things. And I did not realize that. I thought it was just like, can't we all just get along? It's like, type of thing. But it's
Yeah.
more, we can't all get along until we get along with ourselves.
Hmm.
you know and so that's where I've landed. And so really listening to um, the the young people, or have a listening for how important it is for my younger self, yeah, to kind of tell the story of where this, beyond the labels lifestyle or practice kind of came from. And I started it at a young age. It was my way to kind of manage my surroundings and the relationships that I had. And it's too, I think for me, I felt for a number of years that I have dismissed my my listening because of comparison to others.
Right. Yeah.
Because I felt that I'm not hearing that anywhere else. Nobody else is saying that. And it has taken me all these years to go, hey, no one else is saying it because they're not you, right? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're supposed to say it, it's like all right, and so really our listening, internal listening, will can help with how we're listening externally. And it's just kind of like I said, it's that connection, that inner connection, that in so many cases that we miss, because as I felt that I was comparing what I was saying and what I was hearing, instead of just being open to it, and seeing where I played a part in it, or didn't.
Right. Yeah. That makes a
So
lot of sense. Yeah. Very
no,
eye.
this has been a great conversation. I'm really it's like, too often I don't want to say I'm speechless. I don't think I'm speechless yet, right? but
No, you're doing
but
good.
but I have few words. Is there any final thoughts, or anything that you have gotten from this conversation?
I have really enjoyed it. And again, I so appreciate being able to talk to you about this. And and share with your audience our thoughts. And hopefully it spurred some thoughts of their own and how they can, have better lives because they've come to this conversation and not just heard what we've said, but heard what their mind has come up with as well. I
Yeah.
truly believe if we're just faithful to our mind, body, and soul when it comes to listening, that's a great way to live more successful lives. But I would like to leave everybody with one thought. Remember, in order to listen effectively, you have to stay silent. You have to
Hmm.
be able to stay silent for a while to listen effectively. And also find somebody out there that you need to listen to, that needs to be listened to. Let me just give you one idea. When this pandemic started, I realized the folks in our nursing homes are very isolated from their families. They can't have visits right now. So I reached out to the nursing home that my mom used to live in and I said, hey, what can I do? I want to do something, but what can I do? And they said, just send cards, send cards. So I just want to encourage you. That's a little act that'll make a great impact. If
Hmm.
you can just send a few cards to a local nursing home for residents and for the staff, that can make a big difference. And that's you listening to their needs. So thanks
Oh.
so much, William, for allowing me to share that and to be with you today. It's been a pleasure.
Oh no, that's great, and I will. I have some cards here, and there is a couple nursing homes around, so I'll definitely take you up on
Thank you
that.
so much. It really makes a big
That is
difference.
that is great. Well, thank you very much. I am going to put you back if you can back in the green room, and then we'll say our goodbyes from there. But this has definitely been great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, yeah, that was great. I think, the one thing about these conversations that I am still surprised. I appreciate. I don't know about you, but I appreciate that I still surprise myself. There is a knowing, but there is still a surprise with some of the things that I'm up to and what that I'm willing to listen to and learn. And what I got from today is it is more about what has my attention. What am I listening to? So ask yourself, what are you listening to? What are you giving your attention to? Because that will take your focus, that will take your thoughts, that will take everything. That you have your energy, and so yeah. So look at what has my intentions and kind of and go from there. This is a noisy world, and there's a lot of people that are, in some cases, screaming to be heard or to listen to. I challenge you and I challenge myself to take a listen. The world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. See you tomorrow.